going to move on to the second portion of our review, which is the bourbon. Now, I live in West Central Kentucky, right in the heart of bourbon country. I've been to multiple brewery tours, or not brewery, distillery tours, sorry. Love going. It's so much fun. You learn so much every time you go to. Everybody does everything differently. They have different mixtures, and you get to meet the people that work around here. They do the tours. They've been there. I've had distillery tours from the great-granddaughter of the person that started the distillery to an old person that was fighting retirement that had spent 35 years at that distillery and loved her job. And she let you know it, and she gave us a hell of a tour. I also went to a small side distillery where the people bent over backwards to accommodate us. They brought a van up for my wife and I, drove us around and gave us a very personal tour of the distillery and made sure that we enjoyed the entire process. So going to see this type of thing here in the Bourbon Trail here in Kentucky is just unbelievable. If you're ever here, I highly recommend stopping in and seeing any of them. I've never had a bad time at any distillery I've gone to. Now tonight is one that I have not been to the distillery yet. It is high on my list. This is Buffalo Trace, and it is distilled from Buffalo Trace Distillery Company in Franklin County. Haven't been there yet, but it is high on my list. I have to go there. Number one, because they make a bourbon whiskey that is almost unattainable. If anyone's heard of Pappy Van Winkle's, these are the guys that make it. That is an incredible bourbon, and at some point I would like to do a review on it if I'm ever lucky enough to find myself a bottle of either the 10-year or the 13-year. The 18 or 20 year, I really have better ways to spend $1,400 than on a bottle of bourbon. If my name was Donald Trump, yeah, I might find myself a bottle, but in the situation I'm in, I can't see spending that much. But some of the lower end bottles for a good sipping bourbon, you might see it show up on this channel. And if you do, I'm going to be smiling from ear to ear, and you're definitely going to enjoy that episode. But tonight we're doing Buffalo Trace, their standard Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. And this is a 90 proof, 45% alcohol. A very, very tasty bourbon. And we'll go ahead and sample it, and I will give you my inputs on it. Nice real cork stopper on the bottle. That's always a plus. Had a nice aluminum ring on it to keep it sealed so you don't get any loss to the angel share. Pour ourselves a little dram there. And cork it back up. Oh, sorry, the wife wants to have herself a little nip. It's got nice color to it. Nice caramel color. I'd say medium as far as range goes on bourbon. And the good thing is roll it around the glass. And you watch how it slides down the glass. If it's nice and smooth, you can tell that there's not contaminants, and they used real water in the bourbon. And I'll say, well, how do you know that? Well, my wife and I were lucky enough to go into Bardstown, and we met with a colonel and did a 4-hour class called the Bourbon University, in which this certified Kentucky colonel taught us the ins and outs of tasting, sniffing, tasting, looking at, and enjoying good Kentucky bourbon. This, so far, appears to be very high quality Kentucky bourbon. From the smell, you can tell it's definitely got a sweetness to it. So it's not a rye blended bourbon, it's a wheat blended bourbon. Give me a little bit of caramel or almond on the nose. It's very smooth. You can definitely feel the sweet sensors on your tongue kick off because it does have a sweetness to it. It's not sweet as in sugary sweet, but it doesn't set off the sour or salty sensors on your tongue. It sets off the sweet sensors, which is a very nice feeling. It kind of leaves most of your tongue blank except for the back, the sweet sensors, which you can really, is where the taste develops in your mouth. It's not overly high proof, so there's not a ton of alcohol in it. So it's not super strong. It doesn't burn your lips or burn down the center of your tongue. You can pick up caramel and a little bit of nuttiness. There's not much wood. I'm not sure exactly how long this product is aged, so it definitely hasn't picked up the char taste from the charred white oak barrels that it's aged in. And again, the same sensation, flat on almost all of my tongue except the back, where the sweet sensors picked up and gave a very delightful bourbon taste. I would say it's on a bourbon rating scale. If I had to judge color, taste, in actual enjoyment of just sipping this bourbon, I would have to put this about an 8.5. This is a very enjoyable bourbon. I'm very happy that I picked it up. I think it would be very good mixed. The sweetness in it would definitely tie into any soda or anything you would want to mix it with. A little bit of citrus would definitely help with the taste of it while it's mixed. But even just on some ice or neat, this is a very, very enjoyable bourbon. Very good, definitely 8.5 on the bourbon tasting scale. Smooth, has a nice clean finish. It's not overpowering at all, like you would think some whiskeys are. It's doesn't leave you with that. It's very good. So the Buffalo Trace bourbon, so Buffalo Trace, very good. As you can see, a nice caramel color. Very nice bottle. It's got the buffalo on the front. I'm definitely looking forward to going visiting them at their distillery, seeing how they make this fine product. Overall, very enjoyable bourbon if you want to drink it neat on the rocks or mix it. It's not outside of the price range. Most of it runs $23 to $25 for a fifth, if you can find it in your local area. I know it's pretty readily available here because I live in bourbon country. But if you can find it, I would definitely recommend picking up a bottle of this and giving it a try. It's a very good bourbon.